Well, my name is Deepak Doshi. I'm the owner of a coffee house cafe in Houston, Texas called the Doshihouse. Following your passion is an opportunity to reach freedom. So the space is an 88-year-old building comprised of probably about 90% of reused or repurposed materials, including cabinets that were made by Penn inmates as a part of the rehabilitation. The walls are the original walls from when they were built back in 1936. We have this bookshelf here that was done by a guy at the neighborhood. I mean, he's a carpenter, a master carpenter. So there's a lot of history and kind of a lot of eclecticness. There's art on the walls. We partner with some of the best roasters, tea providers. The idea is to experience things differently. I looked at it, one, there's a practical business side, and then two, there's the community side, right? Where you're actually developing and encouraging and doing these things that are a little bit more interactive with the human impact. People say it all day long, you could have gone to Montrose or downtown Central or somewhere and done this and it would have been great and you would have had 100 million people come through the doors and this and that, whatever, right? But is that what this entire experience is about? Is it about just doing, or is it about doing something that's a little bit more impactful? So this is Third Ward. It has a lot of historical significance in the African American community. There's been a lot of suburbanization that really played a negative role on how the community developed within Third Ward. But now things are kind of changing, right? People are moving back into the city. There's a need for positive, impactful economic drivers in a community like this in order for it to be revitalized. You got 12-year-old kids, you know, about to go play basketball, picking up a beet and strawberry smoothie. And there's been customers that come in here that have very, very little money or no money at all. But they come in here and they get treated with respect just because they're customers just like anybody else. And they're like, wow, this is in my neighborhood? That's really cool. I gotta try this one day. I'll have to save my paycheck to come. You know, I mean, and it's not like our meals are expensive, but it's just, there's not disposable income for people to eat out sometimes, right? But again, it's to change the mentality, saying, yeah, of course you're allowed this. Why wouldn't you? Everyone should be allowed to have good quality, everything, and awesome people to hang out with, and a fun environment to be in. So for me, it's real simple. It's like, why would you not do it here? As long as you're confident enough. And for me, that was the challenge. I said, well, you know what? And they've said this before, if you build, they come. And that's true sometimes. Is it true all the time? Only if your product is as good as you want it to be, or you expect it to be. So for me, it was the experience and the product and everything else that we do. It's right on line as to, this is why we're still here 2.5 years later, because people really enjoy and appreciate what we're bringing to the community. And this is inclusive of the people in the community. There's a lot of insecurities when it comes to, am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? And this sounds really cliche, but if it truly is something you believe in, right, and it's something that you believe can make an impact, then it's gonna be fun. Being the first one sometimes leads you to the opportunity to be successful because all the attention's on you, right? Or it could be disastrous because you have no idea what you're doing and you don't know and you haven't learned from the mistakes of other people in this community that have tried to do something like this. And I'll tell anybody that wants to do something of their own or branch out is that they have to be willing to accept failure. Failure is your biggest teacher, right? And so if you cannot embrace failure as a lesson, then you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur, or you shouldn't dream and do something that's going to be crazy or something that you think is out of your range, because if you think it's out of your range, it's going to be out of your range. For somewhere in my life, this was always, and I don't know if this is the final picture because I think there's still more that's happening, right? But the idea of servitude through food, through drinks, through health awareness that's what it is. Now how it's kind of laid out is still developing, right? And this is kind of the first part of it. And you'll see that next year there's bigger and better in the same location. We're not going anywhere. Now I think back, you know, I never really knew what I wanted either. I mean, I used to say a million different things because one, if you say something then and your parents don't agree to it, then you're like, just kidding, that's not what I really want to do. But maybe that was something I really wanted to do. So I remember when I was young, I told my mom, I said, you know, when I grow up, I'm going to be a chef. And of course, coming from a South Asian Indian family, they're like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that, you're a boy, and you go be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer, right? And so she thought it was funny, and obviously, I'm too young to even know what a chef is, but somehow it came out of my mouth. Now, life progresses, I go into college, my college years, I said, I'll be a chemical engineer. And I was like, well, this is intense, and I'm not sure that this is what I want to do. So anyways, long story short, I ended up leading to business, but now when I think back, why is it that I wanted to be a chemical engineer? It's because I think I like creating. So it's almost like experimenting with all these different components and elements and creating, except this is going to be reachable to everyone that comes through the door. In business school, they make you do a case study as to what you would do if you had your own business, and I told them it would be like an international cafe. But it was very you have to do it for your marketing class, so there's not much foundation under that. It's just you create something because you have to, right? It sounded like fun. And so you start visualizing, you start conceptualizing some of these things, the vegetarian, the coffee, the tea, the human interaction, the kind of spirit that people need to, be able to come to a place where they could read books and have real conversations and kind of do the way old coffee houses used to be, right? Be a place of gathering. And then it went away because I went into the corporate world for almost 7 years. But then, I was abroad and I said, well, if I did really well on the corporate side, and I said, okay, I'm gonna switch things over. But I said, is this really where I want to be? If I want to work this hard, is it going to be something at this capacity? How much higher do I want to go? What does that really mean financially? What does that even mean personally? And so that's when I said, you know what? I'm still young. I'm gonna just do this concept of something like this and make it come to life. And so I did quit my job and I came here and I started it. I spoke to my VP here and she said, Deepak, you sleep on it. I'll give you 3 months to think about it. And they had a different position ready for me to fill. And it was really hard because it's like when you got more money thrown your way and you have more opportunity and it's more what they consider success on a corporate ladder, then you want to take it. You're like, of course I want that. Why wouldn't I take it? But then, and the other side is, well, do I just let this idea or this dream go? It will never happen. It will certainly never happen if I never try, or I just take this job. So I said, I'm doing what I said I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna try this out. There's a need to be extremely happy at what you're doing versus just being stagnant. It's very interesting when people start talking about the concern of financial security. If it's done right, it could be extremely, extremely rewarding. The reason people freak out is because the people that generally get into this industry sometimes don't have the business expertise or the experience and don't know how to manage a business. Either they know how to be a great chef, a great cook, a coffee connoisseur, but they may not understand how to run a business. There's multiple components, right? There's a finance side, there's a human resource side to it, there's a management side, there's a product quality side, all these things that we're talking about, and those things are generally hard to come by unless you have that experience. Or you grow as you grow your business. Sometimes your business timeline doesn't allow you to experience all those things, and so you have to close your doors. And so the rate of closure is huge. But for me, it was like, man, if this is done right, the numbers are great. I could be making more money here, and I could have full-time employees just like I would anywhere else, and they could be making extremely good money as long as I do it right, and I gotta figure out the numbers. But will people come? I'm gonna create it, will people come? It wasn't gonna just be a overnight, we're gonna open the doors and everybody's gonna flood through the doors. I knew that wasn't gonna happen. To think that would be naive. So I created an art gallery, and the idea with the art gallery was to see what kind of response I would get from the arts community, people that appreciate this type of vibe, and see if they would come out to a location that was very unfamiliar. And so I did that for 8 months, and it was awesome. We had shows every month, we had write-ups in the press, we had some serious accolades come from like Houston media, which was awesome. And so and then of course we had supporters, and they weren't just friends and family. These were people that were into art, into music, into food, into these type of things. And so I said, well, this clearly is something people are okay with, and as long as you create the vibe, people will come. I didn't want to get into the debt side of things. I'm a pretty simple guy, so I don't live extremely lavishly, not at all actually. And so I saved a lot of my money. I planned things out where If I could do it on my own, with my own funds, I would do it. I wouldn't want to feel guilty that I owe my cousin or my uncle or my friends money. I didn't feel right about that just because I was very uncertain, right? There's that whole uncertainty, and I didn't think it would be fair. And of course, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. In fact, if I did it again differently, it might be a little different. This is probably the toughest part of being an entrepreneur. Nobody's gonna be as honest as you have to be to yourself, because you're not gonna have somebody tell you you're doing a good job or a bad job. You're not gonna have somebody tell you to wake up in the morning or stay up late or eat or not eat. You're gonna have very few people to tell you what to do if you are the boss. If you think I just want to be my own boss and it's gonna be cool and it's great, no, it's that. Don't let that be a reason you want to be an entrepreneur, to be your own boss. If you really want to make an impact, just, then make sure you're disciplined, because nobody else is gonna discipline you.